All right, boys, today I'm gonna be showing you exactly how I helped Blake lose 16 kilograms with no meal plan, no counting calories, no gym. He had a budget. So many people use these things as excuses. But today, after you watch this video, you're gonna know exactly why it's simply an excuse. You're gonna understand how you can understand where you can maneuver around that despite not having all these things accessible to you, and exactly what to do to fix it. All right, so this is just not just value or just me talking about Blake's transformation. This is me giving you the exact sauce, the exact information you need applicably to actually lose these 16 kilograms and get off your ass just like Blake did. All right, now one of the things I really want you to take in from this video is that I don't want this to just be another results video. I don't want you to just look at this video and mentally masturbate to the fact that, oh, I have all this information, I can now finally lose 16 kgs, and then tomorrow comes and you never actually do anything about it. All right, I need you to look at this video when you're serious about changing. I need you to look at this video when you're committed to yourself to change, because up until now you've had the excuse to not do anything about it because you didn't really know what to do. But now you are going to know exactly what to do. So you are going to have to face the hard truth that you have to put the work in now. Now it is actually up to you. It's not up to anyone else. It's not up to someone magically bumping into you and you're losing those 16 kilograms. No, it's up to you to use this information, apply it to your life, and actually start working on yourself. So I'm gonna walk you exactly step by step through the whole thing, and somewhere along the video, you're gonna see yourself and you're gonna be like, fuck, this is me, and you're gonna see exactly what I did with Blake that is or was in your situation and how he got out of it. All right, so actually funny story, Blake reached out to me at like 4:45 in the morning for him. He was currently working online. He had just finished his online shift. He hadn't really slept, and he's like, Marco, listen, I want to invest in my health. I actually want to make a change. I don't know what it is, but it's that 4:45 a.m. motivation, you know, that you normally get. And you're like, today I'm going to change my life. But then you don't actually do anything about it, except Blake actually did something about it. Now, that alone tells you something, but let me paint you the proper and full picture so you really understand what was going on with Blake. So for his transformation, this was what he looked like before, and this was him after just 90 days. And I have a post on my story in which he also talks a bit about his experience and how I helped him and what he actually did and how he felt when he lost those 16 kgs. And you can go to my Instagram, it's pinned on my profile. You can take a look at it and you can hear it all from him, not just from me. All right, but as you see here on the scale, it was 116.5, and then he finished off with 105. Now, Blake's situation, he was working online 9 to 12 hour days, so he had long ass shifts. He had an ongoing gym membership, but he never really attended to it, right? He had the membership going on for years. He tried rock climbing as well, I remember he mentioned. So he always had somewhat resources available. He always had kind of some version of a plan, but he never acted upon it. And this is what he told me on day one, and this is like what I want you to also really hear and fixate on. He told me that he never really had enough of a strong reason why. And I say this so many times. Your why is going to determine how much you actually adhere to the program, how much you actually commit to yourself. Because your why is going to be the difference between enduring pain to change and seeing it through and getting on the other side and living a much better life. Or it's going to be the same reason as to why you're like, oh yeah, I want to do this, but it's not strong enough. So it's not enough for you to endure all this pain and discomfort and sacrifice. So that's it. That's the whole story. It's not that he didn't know what to do. He just never really had enough of a reason to do it, right? And I want you to understand that this is not just a Blake problem. This is a everybody problem. I had this problem. You have this problem, and that's why so many people keep on getting stuck. So I'm going to show you exactly what we did to work through it to make sure that he actually adhered. So when I actually sat down with Blake and took a look at his situation, I mean like really took a look at the situation, what I found wasn't someone who needed a better workout plan. And that's the case for most people. You mostly never need a better workout plan. What I found in Blake instead was someone who was comfortable in an uncomfortable situation, and that's possibly the worst situation to be stuck in. Because if you think about it, he wasn't out of breath walking up the stairs. He could do maybe a couple pull-ups. He wasn't necessarily getting rejected and felt like girls were disgusted by him or stuff like that, like some other men do. His life was fine, and fine is the worst place to be because it keeps you stuck in the same situation without ever feeling like there's an emergency. Like I told you, he had the gym membership, he tried a couple sports, did like rock climbing for like 6 months, and he never really saw results, but he kept on restarting. He never ever hit 3 weeks consistently of working out and working on himself. But get that it wasn't because he's lazy, it was because nothing was really moving him towards that. There was no objective, there was no clarity, there was no reason gravitating him to those results and to that self-improvement. And that's when I told him that he was just kind of living on 5% effort, and that was enough to get by. And then that just kind of like clicked on him, and he was like, fuck, I am just living on 5% effort. And 5% effort a lot of times gets you comfortable and gets you like by the bare minimum. And if your standard is that low and you accept the bare minimum, then that's when you get stuck. Because when your problem isn't bad enough to change, you won't. Simple as that. So what Blake thought the problem was inconsistency, lack of knowledge, no gym access, and that he was too busy. So he thought it was all these external things, right? But the real problem was that he had no urgency. He was comfortable enough. He had no systems or structure, and he had the fully wrong identity. He didn't identify as a fit person that kept on working and working on himself, right? So what actually made him decide to lock into fitness? Now, the first thing he noticed was the pattern, was his environment, all right? Everyone around him that was making money was in better shape. Everyone around him kept on saying, health is wealth. And so because he was working on the online space and he wasn't going crazy just yet, but there were some people around him that were going crazy. And one of the things he picked up that they had in common was that they were all in better shape. They all prioritized their health themselves because it boosts your confidence, it boosts your performance. There's a clear indicator that the healthier and the more in shape you are, the more likely you are to perform better at what you're doing. Now, they weren't all perfect, and you don't have to be perfect, but when you're in shape, you carry yourself differently. You hold yourself to a different standard. And after he saw that, he just couldn't unsee it. And what I told him was that these people operate at a different level across the board. And that was the moment that he actually understood that he had to get in shape. It wasn't like a mental breakdown. It wasn't this traumatic health episode that he just had to go to the hospital because of his health or this and that. No, it was just a bunch of buildup to the point that it accumulated, and it got him to realize that, man, there is a pattern in the people doing better than I am. So now just going to the trigger is the fact that he was working on fitness offers, right? He was a DM setter working on fitness offers. And when you start to work on fitness offers and you're surrounding yourself by that environment, you get to see like shape, looking good, confidence, selling, making money, all of this stuff. It just motivates you and it calls out you on your bullshit. If you're overweight and you're working on a fitness offer and that person is making money because they are fit, and you're like, what the fuck? He is fit and he is making bread off of it. And then I'm just like, well, maybe I should also start to get in shape, right? You start to get that feeling that maybe I need to move forward, maybe I need to do more. It pushes you, it pulls you, it gravitates you to that improvement of your lifestyle. Does that make sense? Now, like I said, he was constantly listening to the fact that health is wealth. And one thing that really triggered him to make that decision was the what if. There were so many what ifs in his life. What if I was in shape? Would this have happened? What if I was in shape? Would this girl have rejected me? What if I was in shape? Would this opportunity have been passed up for me? What if? The what if is one thing that I cannot live with. If I don't want to get when I'm 50, I don't want to be there and think, what if I'd gotten in shape and I could have lived such a better life? I don't want to wait until I'm 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old and be there and get in shape finally then, and then realize, what if I'd gotten in shape before? What if I had prioritized myself before? And that not only by itself is true, but at the same time, it pushes you to make a change. Why? Because it creates urgency, and you need that urgency, like I said, right up here. You need urgency to make a change. That's one of the biggest problems. People don't see it as important as it actually is. They don't see that urgency, right? And then what actually led him to make the decision, or the actual decision that came from it, was investing in himself through health rather than another mentorship. Now listen, you can get mentorships, and mentorships are also going to make you money. But at the end of the day, when you get in shape, you reframe your identity. You feel more confident. You have a higher standard, right? So now you can even have a mentorship and you have the skill to make more money, but your identity isn't there. You're not in alignment with that. You don't even think you deserve it, right? Because you don't treat yourself properly. You don't keep your promises. And so you can invest in other skills, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a better self-image, which is one of the biggest things that the gym fixes for you, it is not going to have as much of an impact as if you were in shape. Because when you're in shape, there's no internal conflict. There's no internal dialogue saying, maybe I don't deserve it, maybe this and that. No, bro, you're fucking confident. You have fucking abs. You look good. You have veins. You just lost 60 fucking kilograms in 90 days. Who is anyone to tell you that you can't do certain things? Because now you've acquired a certain skill, and now because you have that confidence, because you have that standard, because you have that resilience in you, that proof that you can be disciplined and you can make it work and you cannot doubt yourself because you can make shit happen, guess what? It accelerates progress by so much. Damn, I got excited. But now just kind of like going to his conditions, right? All of this that you see here is a condition and an excuse, okay? Everything that you see here, Blake could have used to say, no, I can't make it happen. Sorry, Marco. Goodbye. Boom. Instead, Blake realized, okay, all of these conditions are fucking me up. Let me actually get some proper guidance, understand how I'm going to be able to overcome these circumstances, because there is a way to overcome them. Sometimes you just can't see them right away, and you need help to get you to overlook these circumstances to make sure that you can still progress, right? Now, you're probably going to identify yourself with one of these categories. No matter how little it is, you are going to identify yourself with one of these categories, which is no gym access, which is what Jim had, which is what Blake had. He no longer had access to the gym. He unenrolled and he couldn't go to the gym anymore. Why? Because A, budget, B, no car, and the gym was across the town, all right? Now, going to the second excuse, which is the no car. The gym was in a different town, like I mentioned, and having to walk there or having to bus ride there every time or having to depend on certain other stuff that isn't really reliable just kind of makes the whole process so much harder, right? Then because he was in his house, it was harder for him to track calories. It was harder for him and his whole family to just like separate a thing for him so that he would cook it himself and then track his calories. So we had to fix that. We had to look at it, analyze it, and go and do something about it, which is exactly what I'm going to show you what we did in a second, all right? Then he didn't even have a calisthenics park, right? You think, oh, he didn't have a gym. Oh, that's all right. He can go and do some pull-ups in the calisthenics park. He didn't even have access to that, all right? Then he was working 9 to 12 hour shifts. He was working 9 to 12 hour days. So many of you are going to say, oh, it's 12-hour shifts. I'm going to be tired after. I can't go to the gym. Bro, Blake didn't give a fuck. Blake made sure that no matter how much he worked, he still made it enough of a priority and he found time to make sure that he actually got the gym and got his workout in 99% of the times. All right, then limited budget. Like I said, that complicates it when it comes to gym. That complicates it when it comes to food. That complicates it when it comes to some stuff. But you can still work around it. Listen, bro, I was in college, broke as fuck, eating chicken and potatoes every single day. I would go to the store on Thursdays, which is when the chicken was on sale. Guess what? Low budget doesn't mean you can't make it happen, just means you need to be smarter about your choices. So with no gym and no calisthenics park, that left only the option to do home workouts. And you may think, oh my God, how am I actually gonna lose all this weight only doing home workouts? It's just not possible. I need a gym, I need a calisthenics park, I need something like that. No, you don't. How do I know that? Blake, this guy here did it. This guy here did it. You can do it too, all right? Then bad weather. So he was living in the UK and the bad weather would have fucked up his steps, would have fucked up his outdoor workouts, would have fucked up so much stuff. Like, oh, I can't walk, I can't go to the store and buy the good food today because it's raining and I don't have a car and this and that. Listen, all of these are excuses. At the end of the day, your why is going to determine whether you want to listen to these excuses and give in to them or whether you want to listen to them and say, fuck it, I'm going to add this to the reason. I'm going to add this to the lore of how I made it happen. I'm going to add this to the factor that I am so fucking disciplined. It doesn't matter. That's why your why is so important, all right? So how did he actually pull it off? And I'm about to show you, all right? So I'm going to show you the exact structure I used with Blake, all right? I'm not going to give you the blueprint because the blueprint without implementation is exactly why you're here. You have so much information and you don't really know what to do with that information. So I'd rather show you the implementation of it rather than the blueprint itself. All right. So the first thing we worked on wasn't a workout program, okay? It was a routine, it was a schedule, starting with the morning, all right? We started with water, as you can see here. You have the morning routine, the wake up, make your bed, drink water, tidy your room, go shower, brush your teeth whitening, do your hair, clean the kitchen, walk for 30 minutes one way and 30 minutes back, bang, and then you start your whole day. Once you have your morning routine and you're productive in your morning routine, nothing else can actually like go drastically wrong, where it makes it so much harder. Instead, when you start your morning and you're already slacking, you already start looking on Netflix or going on your phone on Instagram or wanking or whatever it is, or like taking a hit of your vape or doing some nicotine or smoking some weed or whatever it is you actually do. When you start off your morning routine incorrectly, it sets that rhythm up for the rest of the day, and I'll explain to you why. All right, when you start off your morning with easy dopamine, you don't actually have to work for dopamine. Now your brain is already stimulated, and the second you get off that dopamine, you're gonna crash a bit. And now for the rest of your day, you have to go to your job, you have to do the gym, you have to work for dopamine, right? So now you are just so much less excited and you are so much less driven to work for your dopamine, because listen, you just watched your series, you just watched your episode, you just watched your porn, you just did whatever it is you wanted to do, and you got dopamine easily, right? So why the fuck would I work for it? And that's what makes you lazy, and that's what makes you not do stuff, and that's what makes you demotivated at the end of the day. So let me show you how you actually set a routine that is going to help you win, all right? The first thing you have to do is you have to set your goals. Set your goals, because that just adds clarity on where you want to go. All right. Then you want to set daily non-negotiables. That can be 2, that can be 3, that can be 4, how many it is. But the daily non-negotiables are that non-negotiable, because the second you start to negotiate with yourself, you give yourself room to lie to yourself. You give yourself room to tell yourself and mentally masturbate and be like, yeah, I'm going to do that. But then you know you can negotiate with yourself, so you end up not doing it, and then you end up feeling like shit, and the whole cycle restarts. All right. The whole point of a non-negotiable is to not be able to negotiate, is to actually get it done. So it can be the simplest and easiest task, but at least you get it done. You stuck to your word. You did not lie to yourself, and that builds confidence over time and capacity to then handle bigger and bigger and harder and more complex tasks. All right. Then the thing you want to do is you want to anchor your day. What I mean by anchor your day is set times. All right. It's like, okay, I'm going to wake up at this amount of time. I'm going to start working at this time. I'm going to cook at this time. So it doesn't have to be the whole schedule, but just have a notion of when you want to wake up, or at least the most important parts, maybe like your non-negotiables. Set a time for that. Set out a part of your day to make sure that those things happen. All right. Then build around reality, not your motivation. I know how this shit goes. All right, you're gonna see this, you're gonna be like, oh my God, I can do this, I can do this, I can do that. You're gonna write down, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna walk, I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna clean my shoes, I'm gonna clean my kitchen, you write all of these things down. And then tomorrow comes and you're not used to that rhythm. You don't even have that mental power to focus on all these tasks and get it done. And then you don't complete them, and then you've just lied to yourself once again. Boom, you lose motivation, you lose confidence in yourself, and you repeat the whole cycle. All right, start realistically. Don't go on the impulse of your motivation. Start realistically. Okay, tomorrow I'm gonna wake up at, doesn't have to be at fucking 5 a.m. Why the fuck would you wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow when you wake up at like 10 a.m. every single day? Because maybe even tomorrow you'll wake up because now you're motivated, but then the day after that you're gonna wake up at 9. Instead of waking up at 10, wake up at 9:30, wake up at 9:45. Then the day after at 9:30, then the day after at 9:15, then at 8:45, then at 8. All right, progress your way into the routine you want to have. All right, build it around reality, not motivation. Okay, then set time blocks, just like Blake did here. He has time blocks for his day for what he actually wants to do. All right, and then keep it as minimal as possible. And I cannot repeat this, I cannot stress this enough. When you have a million complex things to do, guess what? You're gonna struggle so much to get them done. You're most likely not gonna complete it, and then you're gonna feel like a failure. All right, you're gonna feel like I fucking lied to myself. You're gonna feel like you're not like up to the task. You can't actually get it done. You're not cut out for it. You're not made for it. And then you start to minimize and degrade yourself, and that's not what we want. Keep it as minimal as possible. Add, because adding is better than removing. All right, keep it minimal now. If it's too easy, all right, I can do this as well tomorrow. All right, if this is too easy, all right, I can do that as well tomorrow. All right. Then what you want to do is you want to schedule your week. What I mean by this is, like, especially if you're integrating workouts into this. Say, okay, Monday I'm going to do push, Tuesday I'm going to do pull, Wednesday I'm going to do legs, Thursday I'm going to do rest, But on rest day, I'm going to do 1 hour of cardio. All right, awesome. Friday, I'm going to do this. Saturday, I'm going to do that. Sunday, I'm going to do this. When you have your whole week planned, now when stuff comes up, at least you know what you have planned and you can move shit around. All right, when you have your whole week planned, you know exactly what you're going into. You are mentally prepared. You are conscious of what you're doing. And it's not just trying to fit stuff into your day. Now your day is already planned and you can fit other stuff around it. All right, because say like you decide today that you want to go work out. But then you have this task to do. You have to pick up your daughter. You have to pick up your son. You have to go see your mother. You have to go kiss your girlfriend. You have to go to your job. You have to this and this. When's the time to work out? Instead, if you plan this 2 or 3 days ago, all right, I want to work out on Friday. Okay, Friday comes and you know you want to work out. All right, but before Friday comes, you're like, all right, because I want to work out on Friday. Let me find out how much time do I need. I need an hour and a half. I need 45 minutes. I need 30 minutes. All right, let me find 30 minutes of my day in which I can dedicate just to that. Okay, what do I have to do on Friday? I have to pick up my son. I have to pick up my daughter. I have to go see my mother. I have to go kiss my wife. I have to go to work. All right, in between picking up my son and going to kiss my wife, I can actually get my 45 minutes of workout in because I can leave my son at home, get my clothes, go to the gym, bang. Or I can go straight to the gym. The gym has a park there. Leave my kid playing in the park and let me go work out. All right, so when you have your week scheduled and planned, you can already figure out these things. Obviously, it's not always going to go perfectly, but at least it is going to go better 85, 90% of the time. All right, then one of the most important things is so many people think that your day starts in the morning, like at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. when you wake up. It starts the night before, because the night before is when you actually allow yourself to plan for the tasks for that next day. All right, then not lastly, but one of the most important parts as well is track and adjust. Be like, all right, this week I was able to do this. This week I wasn't able to do this. What went well? What went wrong? Why did what went well? Okay, awesome. Let me repeat that. Why did what went wrong go wrong? All right, that's not working. Let me adjust, fix that so that next week is going to be better. All right, and lastly, once you do all these things, you want to build yourself that identity. What I mean by this is, okay, I'm going to work out this week. You're not someone that is going to do workouts. You are someone that works out. All right, you see how that's different? How, oh, I'm going to try to work out. Oh, I'm going to start the gym. Oh, I'm going to start a diet. No, I don't eat sugar. I work out every day. I work out 4 or 5 times a week. I do this. When you say it's I do or I am, it is identity based. Instead of I'm going to, it's in the future tense. You're not even there yet. That's not even your identity. That's an action that's going to happen in the future, that it's up for your identity of that moment to decide whether you're actually going to do it or not. Instead, if you're reframing your identity, right now, the best example I give, and I gave this to Blake as well, and he understood it, is there's 2 kind of people, all right? There's 2 people trying to quit smoking. One of them is offered cigarettes and says, oh, no, I'm trying to quit smoking. The other one says, no, I'm not a smoker. The one saying I'm trying to quit smoking is a smoker that is not smoking. It is an identity that is not aligned with the action, all right? Instead, the other one says, oh, no, I don't smoke. It is a non-smoker that is not smoking. It's in alignment. Just makes it so much easier. It adds resistance, all right? It removes resistance, sorry. The last thing that I want to say about resistance is make the good things easy and the bad things hard, all right? What I mean by this is if you don't have fucking snacks at home, you're not going to eat them. If you don't have snacks at home, you're not going to eat them. Set goals, set non-negotiables, and make sure that you make life so easy to make sure that you cannot not hit those non-negotiables. Oh, I want to go walk tomorrow at 7 a.m. I want to go to the gym tomorrow at 7 a.m. Bro, it's 8:30 p.m. It takes 5 minutes to set your clothes, leave it ready. Okay, I have my clothes, it's at the door, the bag is ready with the water, with the food, with all that stuff. All you have to do is you have to wake up, brush your teeth, take a shit, go shower, get your car keys, and go to the gym. Everything is ready. Now, you don't have to get up, oh, I still have to look for my clothes, I still have to this, I still have to that. Remove resistance from tasks that you know are going to be harder for you. If you struggle waking up earlier, leave your fucking alarm on the other side of the room, or install those apps so you have to do push-ups to be able to unlock your phone when the alarm goes off. Do shit like that. That just makes it so much harder for you to not do what you're supposed to do. All right, like I said, make the good things easy and make the bad things hard. Now, what I did with Blake is exactly that. Everything I just told you here is what I helped Blake do. Now, this may seem like a lot of work, but I guarantee you, there's a spider. But I guarantee you, once you start to do things one at a time, you are going to nail it, right? That's exactly what I did with Blake, and it worked. You have here his daily checklist, which is his non-negotiables, all right? And then you have his weekly goals. Now, the weekly goals also are so important because it gives you direction for how to plan your daily tasks and your non-negotiables for that week. Then one of the things that we really needed to focus on for Blake was his sleep. So even before the best workout plan was, we needed to dial in his sleep and we needed to fix that better. And you can look here, improve sleep, structure my days so that he can actually improve his sleep. All right, get in bed by 11:30, wake up by 9. You see what I mean? It's shit that actually makes a difference. It helps you build a routine. All right, now, why is fixing your sleep so important? All right, when you sleep, your GH, which is your growth hormone, goes up, your testosterone goes up, and your cortisol goes down. What does that mean? The more GH you have, the more muscle repair and fat burn is going to occur. The more test you have, the more muscle growth and muscle maintenance that is going to occur. And the less cortisol you have, the less muscle breakdown. The less muscle breakdown, the higher your BMR. The higher your BMR, the more calories you burn during a day. The more calories you burn during the day, the more easily you put yourself in a deficit. The more easily you put yourself in a deficit, the easier you lose fat. Okay, now, the second thing is ghrelin and leptin. Now, ghrelin is your hunger hormone and leptin is your satiety hormone. When your ghrelin goes up because of poor sleep, you get more hunger and cravings, your fat oxidation is worse, and you reduce insulin sensitivity. The more insulin sensitive you are, the more functional your metabolism actually is. Then the last thing is the strength, endurance, reaction time, and motivation. All right, think about it. The more strength and the more endurance you have, and the more motivation, the more you can push, right? So that means that the more or the better your lifts go. The better your lifts go, the more stimulus you create in the gym for your muscle to grow. The more muscle, the more stimulus you create, the more muscle you gain. The more muscle you gain, the higher your BMR is. The higher your BMR is, the better the fat loss. Now, the way I structured this was actually the opposite. When your strength, endurance, reaction time, and motivation decreases because of poor sleep, your lifts go down. When your lifts go down, your stimulus goes down. When that happens, your muscle gains go down. When your muscle gains go down, your BMR goes down. When your BMR goes down, fat loss becomes harder. Now, how do we actually fix his sleep? We fixed up his sleep by improving his circadian rhythm. What that means is having a set routine for waking up and sleeping. All right, 99 or 90% of the time, going to sleep by 11:30, waking up by 9. That sets a rhythm for him to actually start to have that natural alarm clock in his body to wake up by 9. And there's a message here. Let me see if I find it. Okay, so Blake literally said that he was already waking up before 8 a.m. because at some point his goal was to wake up by 8. And by then, he was already waking up before 8 naturally. He would wake up before his alarm went off, all right? How does that happen? When you improve your circadian rhythm. How do you improve your circadian rhythm? By having a consistent sleep and wake up time. And you can only do that when you actually have a proper wind down routine. His wind down routine was having the book placed next to his desk. When you have his book placed next to his desk or next to his bed, he would just put his phone away, he'd get the book, he'd read it, which was The Psychology of Money at the time, if I'm not mistaken. He would get the book, he would read it, and he would wind down, and he would more easily fall asleep. Why is that so much better? Because you are now not stimulating your brain anymore, all right? When you're on your phone before you go to sleep, first of all, blue light fucks up your melatonin receptors, which makes falling asleep much harder. Second thing, it stimulates you. When you're stimulated, you're like energized, you spike your cortisol, and it just makes it so much harder for you to relax and actually go into that trance and go into that deep sleep state. Instead, when you have a good wind down routine, for example, Blake reading, when he was reading, yes, it does keep your mind a bit active, but your brain is like already tired from that day. And now you have to do effort to read. It's going to get more and more tired, and it's going to be harder for you to pay attention. It's going to be harder for you to understand the words. It's going to be harder for you to go from word to word to word, and you slowly wind down and you end up sleeping. Then we have the training, the part that so many of you actually think training is, oh yeah, it's gonna make or break my fat loss. It's actually gonna help me lose more fat, or oh, I'm not training enough, that's why I'm not losing fat. When you literally have no idea how this actually works. Because if you take a look at the TDEE scale, which is the total daily energy expenditure scale, all right, you're gonna see that your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, which is just all the energy your body requires just to exist, just to maintain its muscle, for the brain functions, for the organ functions, for all that stuff, is from 50 to 70% of your total daily calories, while exercising is only 5 to 10%. Think about it. Would it not make more sense to improve your BMR, to improve your NEAT or your TEF? Your NEAT is the walking, it's the fidgeting, it's the non-voluntary exercise activity, all right? It's not considered, at least, exercise, all right? It's not intentional. And then you have your TEF, which is your thermic effective food, which is improved by eating higher protein, by eating more fiber. Why? Because fiber takes more calories to digest. Protein, it takes a tax of 10 or 15% of its calories are taxed in digestion, if I'm not mistaken, all right? But enough of that. You want to hear about the training? Let me give you the training. You can literally copy this workout. This is one of the workouts I used for Blake, all right? So why did this training actually work? Because we use progressive overload. What progressive overload means is once you reach a certain rep range, you want to try to make yourself heavier. What we did with Blake was in bodyweight exercises, he added a backpack with books, or he tried to add a backpack with the dumbbells that he had so that he could add more weights to himself, make himself heavier, and then he could actually slowly progress and progress more, because the way it works is progressive overload. Say you can go to the gym and you want to progressively overload, right? What you do is, say you're starting off with dumbbell flat press with 10 kilograms for 8 reps. All right, now the next workout you want to do 9 reps. Then the next workout you want to do 10. Then the workout after that, 11, and then 12. Once you reach 12, you want to add weight, so you go to 12 kilograms now, but now you're back to 8 reps. And then you go to 9, 10, 11, 12. Once you do that, you want to go to 14 kilograms, and now you go back to 8, and so on and so forth. That's how you progressive overload, all right? How do you do that? Through weekly adjustments of readapting the workouts to make sure that it is actually now fitting his level of intensity. Because as you see, these workouts are good, all right? Obviously, for someone that isn't constantly working out, it is going to be more challenging, but once you start to get into it, you get more rhythm, and it starts to become less and less challenging. So you need those weekly adjustments to make sure you keep on challenging yourself, to stress your muscle more, to stress your body more, to create that stimulus, all right? It is going to be the actual mechanical tension that is being created on the exercise that is going to allow you to grow more muscle, all right? Then part of the training, and one of the non-negotiables, as you see up here, is the 10K steps. Why is the 10K steps so important? Because 10K steps is going to be zone 1 to zone 2 cardio, most likely zone 1. What that does is it actively uses fat for fuel. Now, if you're not in a calorie deficit, it doesn't matter how much zone 1 exercise you do. If you're putting in more energy in your body than your body is consuming, there's going to be a surplus of energy that is going to be stored in your body as fat. That's what fat is, okay? However, the 10K steps a day, provided you're in a calorie deficit, is going to accelerate that process of you burning fat, of your metabolism choosing and prioritizing fat for fuel rather than glycogen coming from your carbs, from your glycogen stores. As you see here, all the times, these are only actually 3 times, but Blake was doing it every single day. He still does it this past week. He's in the community that I still have. He's there and he's doing 20 steps a day, and he's absolutely crushing everyone else. So if you're one of my clients and you're watching this, bro, you are letting Blake catch up to you. Lock the fuck in. And me too as well, to be honest, all right? Now, let's go to the nutrition actual aspect of it, okay? As you can see here, these are the meals from Blake. Do you see one thing in common? They look somewhat repetitive. They look somewhat the same, all right? These 2, chicken, they look pretty similar. These 3 also look pretty similar. Why? Because if you're not tracking your calories and you know the one meal works, don't try to vary it every single day, because the more you vary your meals, the more variables you have to control, and the harder it makes for you to understand and put yourself in that calorie deficit, okay? Like I'm saying here, low variety. If you look at every single one of these meals, all of them have one thing in common, which is high protein, high fiber. High fiber from where? From the vegetables, from a little bit from the rice. That's not a lot of fiber, but it has a bit, but mainly from the vegetables. Why? Because fiber, it acts as a GLP-1, which is just going to signal your stomach that you are full. It's going to signal, your stomach is going to signal your brain that you are feeling more full. Same thing with the protein. The protein satiates you more and more and more and more. So these 2 help you feel more satiated. What does that look like? Volume eating. Volume eating is stuff that is low calorie, high in fiber, that allows you to actually eat more without you actually eating more calories. So you're eating more volume, but you're not necessarily eating more calories, which gives you the illusion that you are eating more, making you feel fuller, but helping you in the calorie deficit so you're not always hungry and craving stuff. Then you have the food swap system. What this is we just simply adapted and adjusted meals he was already eating and he already liked, but made them help him reach his goals. Then we have the reaches the macros. So every single meal was at least initially calculated to make sure that he reaches his macros. And then he calculated it once, and then he never has to give a fuck about it anymore because now he knows what works and he can just repeat the exact same formula and he is going to get those results because he knows it works. Don't fix it if it isn't broke. All right, then you have here, you can see the fruits, which completes his micronutrient profile and also gives him electrolytes. That was one of the things that was important for him, was to drink more water so he can hydrate more. Okay, now lastly was the accountability. Everything I just showed you here, everything from nutrition up, I helped Blake do through accountability, all right? But what did the actual accountability look like? Weekly one-on-one calls in which he got the form that he had to fill out every single week, and this allowed us to do exactly this, to review his whole routine, his schedule, what went well, what didn't go well, track and adjust, look at all this stuff, and adapt and change, all right? That's what the weekly one-on-one calls are for, to figure out any mental blocks that he was facing that we had to reframe, that we had to adjust, that we had to improve on, okay? We had the daily check-ins. You can see here the messages verbatim from our texts, all right? I hope I'm not violating our privacy, Blake, but, all right, you have here, I texted him, how are we holding up? And he's like, watching your reel whilst finishing up some eggs. I'm like, I love it. How's the adherence to the diet so far? Bang. How's the diet going? And then I forgot what he said. Let's see. Can we expand this? No, we cannot. Okay, he said something without adjustments. All right, I was like, yes, sir. Let's go. Then I asked him how the workout's been. And then he said, been good, man. It's cold as fuck because anytime I'm jumping, I go outside. I was like, fair, bro. Makes sense. And then he goes, but warm up decently after with a nice shower. So he would work out, he'd be freezing, and then he'd warm up after with a nice shower. And I was like, yes, sir, that's it. And then he says here that he's getting stronger and his clothes are fitting better and people were noticing his improvements. All right. Then we have the actual mindset work that we did with him, because like I told you, it is a mental, so much more than physical. It is mental, the improvements that we have to make. All right. So that's why I have on my whole program, I have all the implementations, and under this I have a knowledge module with all the things that you need to know to improve your mindset, whether it's the principles of transformation, whether it's the mental reps you have to do daily, whether it's the self-sabotage fixes, whether it's the way you have to reframe, whether it's the mental models that are going to help you to envision and to help you lose more fat. It's the affirmation, visualization, and the progress journaling template. All right, journaling is such a good way for you to reaffirm your identity to yourself, repeat it to yourself, fixes your self-sabotage, fixes the mental reps, helps you reframe, helps you affirm and visualize, and is progress and just helps you progress through journaling. All right, so it knocks out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 birds with one stone. All right, and then we have the progress tracking, which was done through pictures, through how clothes are fitting, and here mainly the most data-driven one, which is the actual scale. And as you can see here, it is a 16 kilograms lost. All right, so all of this is exactly how I helped Blake, what we actually did to get into transformation. What did the transformation look like? Let me remind you. Bang. Look at this sexy ass transformation. Blake was 116 kilograms. Yes, he wasn't too bad. A little bit chubby. He knew it. But now, bro is a fucking stallion. Bro, genuinely 16 kilograms down. Bro, genuinely, losing 16 kilograms in 1 month is such a great accomplishment, and it requires determination, and it requires seriousness, and it requires commitment, not only to me, but to yourself. But the thing is, when he invested himself with me, when he invested into the program, he was like, all right, now I've put some money in, I have to commit. That's kind of what happens. It puts you in that situation in which your back is against the wall. And that's one of the most important things, is because when your back's against the wall, the only way you can go is forward. And the only way that you can go, when the only way that you can go is forward, you can only progress more and more and more and more. And that's exactly what Blake felt like he needed to do. And that's what made him actually get the transformation. That's what actually worked. All right. So let me just quickly review to you. There's some quotes verbatim from our calls. All right. Before, on day 1, he said, I've never had a strong enough reason why. And after, he said there's zero reason unless there's an earthquake. Look at that mindset reframe. I think that was one of the biggest things, one of the biggest transformations that I saw with Blake, was how much better he got mentally, how much more of a winner, resilient, and confident mindset he developed so early as well. It was insane, all right? He also his standard, right? He rated his week a 7, and he was like, yeah, that's a good week, a 7. After, when he rated his week a 7, it was a bad week. It's what I'm telling you. Your standards shift. That's hedonic adaptation. It's what I told him, right? He was kind of upset that he got a 7, and I was like, bro, that's good, right? To me, that should make you weak more than a 7. It should make you weak an 8, because that's hedonic adaptation. Then he had no reason to get up in the actual morning, right? He was like, yeah, I want to wake up early, but he never had a reason to wake up early. That's why so many people don't get shit done, because there's no reason behind it. Once he got that reason in and he started to build that routine, he started to wake up before his alarm, happy about it, all right? Before, he knew what to do, but he never really followed through. Let me tell you a story about Blake. Blake had a whiteboard with goals and tasks that he wanted to do and he wanted to achieve, and he walked past it for 2 weeks straight without taking action. And that one day, he got fed up, he called me, and he started the program. And then, that same day, that same week, everything shifted and he started to get shit done. The only thing that changed was a commitment that he had to me and to himself. So that's why I'm saying, he knew what to do, but he never really followed through with it. And after, he built his identity through audios, through journaling, through everything, and he started to plan, he started to understand, he started to get ahead of the obstacles that would have been there so that he could actually follow through. Before, in his mindset, fitness was something that he kept on restarting because he would be failing. After, when he failed, he would say, this week was a learning opportunity. And this was like really early on, and this is something that actually like shocked me so much, right? So now, to this day, right, Blake is still progressing beyond the 3 months. He hasn't stopped. The habits that he built have stuck. And it wasn't just a 3-month fix. It was a permanent shift. Why? Because we helped him reframe his mindset, reframe his identity, build habits, build new habits, not just a copy and paste workout plan, not just a copy and paste meal plan. He understood what to do. He understood why to do it. He understood why you had to go about the situation that way. That's what helps you actually build the skills to do that for the rest of your life. And that's what I want to do. I don't want you to just come to my program and think, oh, I'm going to follow this, I'm going to get shredded. And then after you get shredded, you're like, ah, fuck, now I don't have Marco anymore. I'm going to start failing this and this and this and this. No, I want you to learn. I want you to not be dependent on me or anyone else for that matter, all right? So to finish off, Blake had no gym, he had no time, he had little money, he had no urgency, but he still got it done. So what's your excuse? Now just to finish off, Blake had no gym, he had no time, he had no money or little money, and he had no urgency, but he still got it done. So what is your excuse?